older brother and Matt's best friend growing up, so I think I have a pretty unique perspective on both of them. I'd like to first thank both the out-of-town guests and the in-town guests. You know, everyone always thanks the out-of-town guests for coming, but once you have children, you realize that a weekend of festivities is, even in your own town, is difficult to participate in. So thank you. You know, I'm probably one of the only people in the room whom tonight is bittersweet for. Assuming there's no one else in the room who wants to marry Melanie. You know, as a big brother, your job is to protect your little sister. And I'm somebody who takes my responsibilities very seriously. So, standing up here, looking at Matt, I'm realizing that for one of the first times in my life, I failed. In all seriousness, someone very wise once told me that every pot has its cover. For every person in the world, there's someone who is their perfect fit. I know this is true because I found my perfect fit in my wife, Rain. The hardest thing to do is to find that person. But once you do, the rest is easy. So, it's obvious to me now that Matt is Melanie's perfect fit. Admittedly, that was not always clear. I grew up with Matt, and he's one of the most mischievous people that I've ever met in my life. There have been a handful of stories told already, so I'm not going to go through it. But Matt and I growing up would throw eggs at houses, light flaming shit on people's doorsteps, sneak out to see girls, take his parents' cars out, 12 and 13 and 14. We're not the best kids. In 9th grade, Matt moved to another school. And although we lost touch, we still spoke from time to time, and eventually we reconnected. Matt asked me for tickets to a Hawks game. He knew that I had. And at the time, I think he went with a brother, I think he went with Alex, and Melanie was dating someone else. And just randomly, they ran into each other. And when Matt called me to thank me for the tickets, he made it clear that he thought Melanie was beautiful. Which, at the time, I didn't think much of. A year later, Matt called again. So I'm thinking that he wants Falcons tickets this year, or something different. But he's nervous, right? And ordinarily when people call me and they're nervous, they either want a job or money. I knew Matt had a job, and I knew I wasn't lending him any money. So the further the conversation went, the more nervous he became, which all of us know Matt is a very smooth operator. So for Matt to be nervous, I knew it was something very serious. So we small talked for a little bit, work and weather and so on and so forth. And finally he blurts out, "Can I get your sister?" And I heard him the first time, but I pretended like I didn't, just to dig the knife in a little bit deeper. Right? So I asked him again, "What'd you say?" And he blurted out a little slower this time. So finally, by the third time, I said, "Of course." But I was thinking, you know, for a guy in marketing, he really needs to sharpen his sales skills. The call was about as poor as it could have gotten. But when we hung up, I realized I was happy. Because I genuinely liked Matt from the moment that I met him. And I think that's an experience that many of us in this room share. Then, I thought back to some of the things that I could never understand that he did as a child. So, in maybe 6th or 7th grade, in the heat of the Atlanta summer, Matt decides that he wants to run away from home and come and stay with us. Which many of us in this room spent time at the McLean household growing up, and Joy and Bob are obviously fantastic people, great parents. And they lived on Crossroads Manor, which was, you know, the epicenter of everything going on in Sandy Springs. And the pinnacle of excitement for kids. So I couldn't figure out why he wanted to move to a treehouse in my backyard in the 95-degree heat. And going back to right after this phone call, I realized that from that treehouse, there was a perfect view into Melanie's room. I've watched the relationship and love grow over the last few years. And tonight, Matt, you know you closed the best deal of your life. Melanie, you've grown into a beautiful, successful, fun-loving woman. Along with Dad, I've been your #1 guy since the day you were born. Tonight, it's my honor to transfer this responsibility of the #1 guy to Matt. I'm not under any illusion that horse didn't leave the barn a while ago. But tonight I get to formally transfer that. Rain and I look forward to continuing to be an integral part of it. Vacationing together, spending holidays together, having our children corrupt yours the same way you've corrupted me. So raise your glasses one last time for a toast to one of the most beautiful brides in the world, to the best brother a guy could hope for, to the miracle of finding your perfect match, and most of all to a done deal.